Hello, this is Liz with Crafty Devotion. Welcome to Wedding Dress Deconstruction. I've had several people asking me and commenting that they'd like to see how I deconstruct a wedding dress. I craft shabby chic style in variations because I like to do rustic also. I really believe in repurposing textiles and fabrics. I repurpose doilies, I repurpose laces that I find, and I find vintage items, and I like to think that I rescue them and I repurpose them so that they'll still be around for us. Some things that are very vintage are very difficult for me to deconstruct, so I save them for a long time till I find that really special purpose for them. But in the meantime, we are going to be deconstructing a wedding dress. I purchased this wedding dress at a thrift store. I went in and saw that it was for $50. They were going to be having a Memorial Day sale, 50% off. So I went in on Memorial Day and I purchased this beauty. I will be walking you through how I do it. I am in no way a professional. I do everything a la Liz, which means I do it my way pretty much. Releasing videos for this series in 3 minutes and 15 up to 15-minute increments at a time. I will do it as I have time. We are adopting a 2-year-old, and I'm trying to find something to be able to do that I could do with the 2-year-old running around, and I create these videos while he's napping. So I will release them as I am able to. Please share these videos with your friends. I put them in a library so it will be easy for you to share all of them at one time. It really helps me to know that when you share it or comment that I can go ahead and keep on continuing sharing my joy of crafting with you, my crafty devotion. Since this wedding dress has a tag on it, we actually know what it's constructed of. The inner shell is nylon. So nylon should be able to melt very well. But I'll show you that later, how to test the fabric, because a lot of times wedding dresses don't have this tag in them, because this is probably my third or fourth wedding dress that I've deconstructed. I usually turn it inside out and I go to the waistline. It really removes a lot of the bulk if you just separate the lining from the actual dress. Now, if you're thinking I want to using the lining like to repurpose it for something, then you might want to carefully unsew it, but I don't do that. So you just continue and you follow the waistline and remove that lining. This is how I do it. I actually will take any comments or suggestions from any of you who maybe have more experience with fabrics, with wedding dresses, so forth. And my purpose of doing this is not just to show you what I do when I deconstruct a wedding dress. It is also, what I'm going to do is I will show you what I do with the pieces of the wedding dress. So it's more for me to show you that you can use every part of the wedding dress and give you ideas on how to use it. Okay, I'm near where the zipper is. I've actually almost finished the whole thing. And if you would, I usually go and test the cut again, see if it'll actually tear down. And can you see how it just tore downward? So when you are going to cut this apart, we're going to be able to tear it downward. So go past the zipper. Now this zipper, if you wish, it could be reused for anything, but you know, I have seen zippers being used in actually projects, so you might be able to do that. So then you take your lining and just fold it up and put it to the side. Okay, the next part that you're going to do is I also separate the bodice of the gown from the bottom. Now, this is a little bit more tricky in that you do need to be aware of the laces, because you don't want to destroy the laces. So I usually do it from the outside rather than underneath, because I want to be able to see the laces. So just like you did the other, I'm going to go ahead and unzip this one. Okay. You can see here where we separated the lining. So we're hitting where the lower portion is. So make sure you're watching. You don't want to cut the lace. And it's really, to me, I don't really care how straight that is. When I do this, I'm going to reuse every part of it, but I mean, there will be little strips that you don't. Okay, I just finished separating that. A lipstick stain, and it does have another stain in a couple of other places, but nothing large. So I haven't laundered it or anything yet, and usually I don't launder it until I deconstruct it. And depends on what I'm going to use everything for. So I may just do a gentle hand launder to parts of it, or in parts of it. Well, we'll see what we end up doing. But here's the beautiful intricate pieces here. Okay. So now go ahead and take your bodice and fold it up. Now I'm at the back part of the skirt portion, and I'm just going to rip it down. It's actually just rips very easily on the thread, just comes right apart. Now I do stop when I get to where the lace is at. So when you come to the lace, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim maybe about 1 inch away from all of the lace with my scissors all the way around, and then I will decide after that what we're going to do with it. Sometimes some of the pieces of lace, if you get too close, some things can just be removed without a problem, and other times if it has too much pearls on it, too much sequins, depending on how the order was that they added it on. Sometimes I've noticed on the wedding dresses that they may have a piece that was added on and then they were pearlized. So that means that the pearls are actually on the applique and attached to the fabric. So this is what you do. So you just cut about 1 inch around all of the... Alright, here I'm actually back by the train where that beautiful long piece was. And it is actually a big job. I'm going to keep on cutting, and I will record a little bit of it. But I'm just trying to get down to the bottom of where the train is at. And I'm leaving it 1 inch to 2 inches around the lace. Decide where I'm going to cut it. So look at my lace. I look at my lace, and then I just kind of decide I'll probably cut along here. I mean, I could go and look for the connection, but I don't think that's necessary because I'll be using this lace for a variety of things and it'll be cut anyway. I prefer to use my small scissors when I do this. So I'm just going to cut it along. Oops, I'm just going to cut it along. Oops, I think I want that one to have that little flat leaf. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to try to tear it upward and see if I can get it. There we go. So that's what I do. So now this tore all the way up, but now it's torn apart. So deconstructing this wedding dress will take steps. And you can see that it's soiled still. It's not extremely soiled, but it still had the fresh lipstick on it. And so it is used. So I do know that. So I do know that this is from dragging probably on something. So I keep that in consideration as I am going to repurpose this. I think about, you know, like the last one I separated, I could completely tell that it had been dry cleaned before it got tossed. So I wasn't too worried about that one. But this one, I'm not too sure about it. It looks to me like it was actually at the thrift store and the bride wore it and never cleaned it, and it's just was sitting in her closet, and then somehow it got to the thrift store. So I'm actually cutting from the bottom of the train upward, and I'm just trying to find the spot where it rips upward, because I'm just going to take pieces apart from this, and you may find it easier just to cut it, but I don't. I'm that way. So I just rip it, because I need to find that rip line anyway if I'm going to be using this this dress for fabric in the future. Finding the tear line is important, because I will tear it. I don't cut it, I tear it. I tear this, you know, this, what we decide, this was polyester satin. And I found a seam. I'm just cutting a seam. So that's what you need to do. I cut it in parts, and I think I'm going to leave the train a bit intact. So I'm going to cut around the train, and then I'll put the train aside, and then we'll work on the other portion of the lace. Okay, this piece that I have in front of me, I've removed a lot of I separated the lace, the front from the back of the train. And this is actually it's not the train, it's actually the front of the wedding dress. And what I do is I like to look at it. I like to look at the pattern and see, well, what part of the pattern is usable for something I might want to do. It's very large. I mean, it's my board here is a 23-inch board. I mean, my cutting mat is 23 inches, and it reaches all the way to almost to the edges of my cutting board. So there's no way I would ever use this in its entirety on a project. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut around the entire front portion, and then we're going to work on this the bottom lace. And then over here I can make the decision later how much I want to cut it apart. So I'll cut around all the way around this area and separate the bottom from this area, and then we'll decide what to do with this later, but we'll work on this bottom.